is the newest X-Men film from 20th Century Fox, and it is the final movie that will be showcasing a portrayal of Wolverine by Hugh Jackman. They've already confirmed that this was going to be the very last one with Hugh Jackman. And without spoiling too much about the plot, Wolverine and Professor X have gotten very old, they've gotten very bitter, a lot of their mutant friends have been gone for a while now, and Wolverine's just tired of it all. But when Logan finds out about this girl named Laura, played by Daphne Keane, who's being chased after by a bunch of dudes with metal arms, he and Professor X go on a road trip with this girl to protect her from these people and get her to a safer place. Now, for a long time now, people have been wanting an R-rated Wolverine movie that would stand next to the Old Man Logan comics, because when the Wolverine came out, a lot of people really liked that film, but when the director's cut, that rated R version, came out, a lot of people loved that version, and a lot of people loved the Deadpool R-rated movie, so they decided, alright, Logan's gonna be R-rated, there's gonna be inspiration of the Old Man Logan comic in here, so a lot of people were excited, myself included. I couldn't wait to see this, especially since it was the final portrayal of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, a performance that I have grown loving for the past 17 years. I mean, the movie came out when I was born. So this franchise has literally been a part of my life. And I also love the fact that James Mangold did come back to direct this film, because I think The Wolverine is a very underappreciated movie. I know the consensus is that it's a good movie, but I genuinely, really love that film. I'm so glad he came back to do this one. I was a little nervous going in. I was hoping that they wouldn't do that thing where the R-rated gimmick was going to overshadow everything else about the film. Walking out of the movie, I proclaim this, that Logan is the best comic book film since The Dark Knight. Better than Deadpool, better than Civil War, better than any comic book film that has come out since The Dark Knight. Logan is a masterpiece. It's that kind of superhero film that doesn't feel like a superhero film. This movie in a lot of ways feels like an independent character study, and I really love that idea with this movie. It's not a big action superhero movie where it's the end of the world or a big company is about to launch something that will enslave millions or something like that. It's a very scaled down story, but in a lot of ways the way they scaled it down actually made it feel more escalated. It just goes to show you that a lot of movies don't need to be great because of scale or escalation. Sometimes the smaller the action scene can actually benefit the film. And in a day where a lot of action movies are trying to go bigger and better, this movie actually went smaller and got better. One of the best. And I'm not saying that the R-rated action isn't amazing, which, by the way, it is. The first sequence of this movie, you will know exactly what you're in for. They're not holding back anything. The cinematography isn't shaking it, trying to hide it. It's right there, showing you everything that's happening, the limbs and the slicing and the blood. It's mwah! It's everything you've been wanting from a Wolverine movie since the beginning. And all of the action scenes utilize this very well, and even when there's a lot of R-rated stuff going on, you're still emotionally invested with the characters and the story going on. Not just because, oh my gosh, the action scenes are so well filmed, there's so much cool stuff going on, but you also really care about the characters. You feel the tension because they set it up very early that Wolverine, he's old now. He's having trouble healing himself. He's not healing the way he used to. So now whenever he gets into a fight and there's a chance that he might get shot, you actually are scared for him. You actually feel tension for him because you know that that's making him slightly weaker. I mean, there's one scene taking place at a hotel. You've probably seen hints of it in the trailers, but that sequence alone is just incredible. And there's another action sequence taking place at a house. That's all I'll say. That scene, oh my god, emotionally, it got to me. And I think the movie had a very well balance with its tones. There are moments where they're going a little bit more light, then there's moments where they're going a little more dark, and then there's the rated R gore everywhere action. And I think all of these tones mesh together in a very well done way. There wasn't any moments where they were overshadowing each other. None of the tones felt awkward with another tone. I think they all just came together in a very nice way. Because to be honest, even though it is great seeing a dark superhero film, there are some moments where you'll probably be like, I need something light. So whenever they do have a little bit of humor, you're actually like, oh my god, thank you, some levity. And the story of this movie is dark, don't get me wrong, and I will guarantee you, this movie will make you cry. I was weeping a little bit near the end of the film. It got to me. I'm man enough to admit that, but I think this movie will get to other people that you don't even really need to have grown up with the X-Men films. You could watch this movie without knowing anything about them, and you probably could get emotional too. And a lot of that has to do with the performance by Hugh Jackman, which is the best performance out of any Wolverine film that he has done. This is the very best performance as Wolverine. It almost makes me kind of sad that this is the last one he's ever gonna do, but it was the best one he's ever done. It's the one where you actually feel his bitterness the most. And this is nothing new. He's been bitter in the other X-Men films. He talks about how he's dangerous. But in this one, you really feel that the most. You really do feel his confliction with his own emotions. And I say this is the best performance Hugh Jackman has done because this is the first time where you see the Wolverine character weak. And I know in the Wolverine, they actually took away his self-healing for a while. But in this movie, it's different because you can tell he's getting old. He's not the hero that he used to be. Whenever he gets hurt, and usually he would heal right away, you see him slowly moving. You see him still prepared to fight, but he's just so slow about it. And I actually started to get kind of sad about that because I've seen Wolverine in his prime so many times, and here he is in this emotionally broken down stage. Professor X also is in a stage where he has also had enough. Not as much as Wolverine, but Wolverine's always been kind of bitter. But Professor X also doesn't care anymore. He says the F word a lot of times in this movie, and it was kind of odd hearing that because I don't think we've ever heard Patrick Stewart say that as the Professor X character. I know James McAvoy did, but it was kind of different hearing it come out of Professor X's mouth as Patrick Stewart. But in this movie, when Logan and he interacted with each other, there's a certain amount of emotion and sweetness going on there that, honestly, it's so sad. We're never gonna see these two playing these characters, and this is the best movie they've done. Daphne Keane, as you know, no spoilers here, this has been confirmed for a while, X-23, she was great. A lot of the time she's very silent, and a lot of her acting comes from just her actions and her stares, and she is actually very good in this film. This is one of the best child performances I've ever seen, honestly. A lot of kid actors these days do pretty terribly, but she was really good, and I loved her interaction with Logan. I think those two had really good chemistry with each other. And even the villain with the robo-hand, Pierce, who in a lot of other superhero films would be seen as the generic bad guy, I thought he was actually pretty good. There's scenes where he's intimidating other people, and I actually felt a little intimidated by him. And it wasn't like the bad guy where you don't buy how threatening he is to other heroes. You actually do buy how scary he may seem to these mutants. And Stephen Merchant I really liked in this movie as Caliban, who I completely forgot showed up in X-Men Apocalypse, not played by Stephen Merchant, but the character was there. I completely forgot, and I was like, before going into the movie, I was like, oh, I wonder what Caliban is all about, and then after the movie, I was like, oh yeah, it was in X-Men Apocalypse. But still, Stephen Merchant did a really good job playing this character. There are some moments where you feel sorrow for him too, and this is a character that's barely been established, but still you feel sorry for this guy. And I guess you could technically say he's the comedic relief because I guess he tells the most jokes, but at the same time, that comedic relief isn't annoying or overshadowing everything else. And there's also one other character introduced, no spoilers because this is real spoiler territory. I don't think this character's been in the comics before. I think it was completely made up for this movie, but when this character showed up, very minor character, when this character showed up, it was actually a little scary, and it actually added to some of the most tension out of any of the action scenes. That's all I'll say about that character. That was really genius too. It was a very creative idea. If it is a made-up character after all, I think it is, but it was a really good chance to take, and that's what I love about this movie too, is that it took a lot of chances with its tones, with the overall story, with how they were dealing with these characters. Logan, in my opinion, is a masterpiece. And may I say this, the very last shot of this film brought me to tears. I was bawling, guys. The ending of this movie really got to me, and that final shot was just the perfect way to close out this movie. Logan is spectacular. It's the perfect final portrayal of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. If you are looking forward to this movie, go see it right away. You will not be disappointed. I'm gonna give Logan an A+. The acting is the best it's ever been in an X-Men film. The action was super intense. Some of the most intense action scenes you will ever see in an X-Men film. James Mangold, I praise you as a director. He was so great. He knew exactly that you could not pan away with the camera work. You have to show everything that's going on, and the cinematography just complemented the action scenes very well, and even the musical score was actually adding to that intensity as well. Logan is one of the best films of 2017 so far. I'm interested to see where it compares later on when other movies come out, but it's going to be very hard to top this, and I'm going to say it right now, Logan will be the best comic book film of 2017. I am going to say that right now because this movie was spectacular. And Guardians, Spider-Man, Justice League, Wonder Woman, they're gonna have to do a lot to even compare to Logan. It is this incredible. Like I said earlier, it's the best comic book film since The Dark Knight, and I do stand by that. And one last message to Hugh Jackman before closing out this review. Thank you so much for playing one of the best comic book characters so perfectly for the past 17 years. You will be missed, my friend. There is no one like you. Oh, and by the way, there's no after-credit scene. Do not stay after the credits. You will waste your time. But what did you think of Logan? Leave in the comments below of what you thought of it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.